Hey everyone, and welcome to the Irenic Ref podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Gross. The word irenic means aimed at or aiming towards peace. And my goal with this podcast is to try to create a bridge between coaches and officials by showing the humanity of each other in a more robust way, which isn't necessarily achievable in the minimal interactions a coach and official may experience during a game. With all that said, let's get to it. Today's guest is going into her 7th year as a high school basketball official. She has also been a college women's official for the past 2 seasons. In her 6 seasons of officiating, she has been selected to officiate in the South Dakota State Tournament 2 times, and this past season she was not only selected to officiate the championship game, but was also the head referee for the championship game. A fun fact is that she is a basketball official due to the influence of her dad, James Benning, who is also a basketball official and has been a state tournament official as well. Along with that, another exciting fact is this past season, she was part of an all-female crew, along with Carrie Shanefish and Sherilyn Dykstra, for a doubleheader basketball contest, which may in fact be the first time in South Dakota basketball history that an all-female crew officiated not only a doubleheader, but also a boys' game. And so with all that said, please welcome Abbi Simpson. Abbi, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Andrew.
Yeah, you bet. So let's talk about that last part a little bit. You, Carrie, and Sherilyn, you're 3 all-female officials on a doubleheader game. I would assume that is a true statement. That is the first time an all-female crew has been on a doubleheader game, because doubleheaders have not been until recent, and I have yet to see an all-female crew. The thing about the boys' game, I'm not 100% sure on that either, but I think that might be a true statement as well. Do you have any knowledge about the boys' part of that?
Yes, that is correct. The assigner for Canton High School actually reached out to me, let's see, it'll be about February, March of 2023, saying this was a goal that they were hoping to accomplish in the season of 2023-2024 to have a all-female officiating crew for the first time in South Dakota, not only for a doubleheader, but also for a boys varsity game.
Awesome. Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about that experience, because there was what's it called? There was a I don't know if it's Kelland or Case of Why. Someone covered the news story, and so tell me about leading into that. Like you said, Jake wanting to have that all-female crew, the news station there, the basketball game. Tell me everything about that behind the scenes, what it was like, and what it meant for you, Carrie and Sherilyn.
So going into that game, I don't think the Canton basketball team or even the Madison, who they played basketball team, were aware that not only were they having 3 female officials, but how historic it was, honestly. We had Dakota News reach out to us asking if they could interview us pregame just to get a little feedback on our officiating history and what that day meant to us. So going into the game, tip off for the girls' game, I mean, just like every other girls' game, people didn't, like I said, they didn't realize what was going on that night because, again, it's for the kids. We weren't going to take their shining moment, but behind the scenes, we knew how great of a night it was, not only for us female officials, but also for future female officials. So that was just a great experience. Not and us 3 women, we talked about it before the game, we talked about it between the games, and then after the game of, wow, like we did it, and hopefully now that we've done it, it's not going to be a wow moment anymore when 3 female officials step on the court, not only to ref a girls' basketball game, but a boys' basketball game.
Yeah, and so it's not such a taboo thing. That's really cool that you 3 could be a part of that. I mean, very experienced 3 of you. Sherilyn obviously doing over 20 years of officiating. Carrie is at least in the teens, if not past 15, and then yourself in the 6-7 range, which again means absolutely nothing about years of experience, especially with your state tournament resume that you have. And so speaking of state tournament resumes, you get in 2 years ago, first year, same with me. We drew the I don't know if you want to say lucky card, but we drew the card. Our effort and our officiating skills showed. And then this past year, yeah, you got to the championship game. What was that tournament like leading up to that championship game? Did you have an inkling you would even be in that position, or what was going on behind the scenes with that as well for you?
So going into that tournament, everybody saw the assignments when they came out about 3, 4 weeks before the state tournaments. And I not only saw my name, but I saw some other female official names on that still same tournament. So everybody kind of had a inkling like, okay, something might be happening. But of course, I didn't go into it expecting I'm going to get the state championship game. I just went into it thinking I'm going to do all I can, not only to prove why I should be there, but just to make sure that it's a great tournament across the board. The kids have fun, the coaches have fun, the fans have a great experience, and us officials also have a great experience. Day two of the state tournament, so that Friday, once I got a noon game again, I kind of had, or a 1:30 game, I had a inkling like, okay, this might be my year. Now, did I think I'd be the head referee? No. But when we got that text message that Friday night, it was a holy cow, I did it moment.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it's one of those things that kind of attest to, the age doesn't matter. Gender specifically doesn't matter. It's if you are a good official, if you put in the effort, you put in the time, you put in the games, you do what you need to do, the best person is going to be on that championship game. So kudos to you for that. And yeah, I think the second year is a big milestone. Like you mentioned, it's one of those where a lot of officials, it seems like you either make yourself and you stay in it, or you kind of break yourself and you got to work your way back in. So anyway, kudos to you for that and for those two accomplishments the past 2 years. We talked a little bit about your personal introduction, but tell us a little bit more. Like, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And any hobbies you have?
So I grew up in Line, South Dakota, just about 30 minutes north of Brookings. I played for the Line Redmen at the time. Now they are the Line Hendricks Redhawks. Um, I was out for basketball. My mom coached us starting in fifth grade, so played fifth and sixth grade under her, and then seventh through 12th grade. My freshman year, we actually made it to the state tournament in Huron. We were constellation champs after beating the Hanson Beavers. So
There you
that's
go.
another pretty cool factor. Um, Going back to my first state tournament, it was in Huron. It was, let's see, I want to say exactly. Let's see, we made it, I think it was 10 years, 10 or 11 years since we were last there for the state tournaments. Not only did I play in it as a basketball player, I also got to officiate it at that same arena. Um, so that was a pretty cool experience going back there again.
Yeah.
But I graduated high school in 2015. My dad, like you said, is a basketball official. I throughout high school I helped with like elementary, junior high games, just kind of being a good sport, helping out the little kids, interacting with them. And then my, let's say, second year of college, moved to Watertown, went to Lake Area Tech, and really picked up the Watertown middle school JV games. That's how I really got into officiating. Nick Amon was actually somebody that I officiated with there and actually learned quite a bit from him when it came to the mechanics there. And then I just wrapped junior high JV games for a couple of years, and then I got my foot into the water of varsity games. My very first varsity game was with Giovanna Tone, and I can't remember the third. We were after at Clear Lake, and they played TS Bazina girls game, so that was my very first varsity game ever. And then my second varsity game ever, roughing a boy doubleheader at GPL against Lake Preston. And we're in the boys game, and my brother was in high school at the time, so he was playing in Esteline. So my parents watched him play. Then they came to Watertown to watch me finish my first boys varsity game at GPL. And funny story there is my dad had his reffing gear in his car because he helped at the junior high game in Esteline. Well, then Troy Johnson got hurt that game, and I got to finish the second half of my first boys varsity game with my dad. So that was a pretty cool experience. Unfortunate for Troy Johnson to get hurt, but full circle moment. And then I moved to Madison, South Dakota. This is where I reside now. Have been here for 5 years. Married to my husband Reese. We have a home here with two dogs. I am a human resources at the Madison Regional Health System here in Madison. Um, and when I'm not there, when I'm not officiating, I'm hanging out with my family. My father-in-law has a house in the lake here. We'll be out there in the summers, but otherwise, if I'm not officiating, I am watching basketball. So,
Yep. That's awesome. I remember that story about your dad coming to I don't know where we heard it at, if it was at a region meeting or what exactly it was, but that was kind of a fun story to hear about. Yeah, you're getting into the game influenced a little bit by your dad because he is an official, not necessarily that he taught you everything that you know. He might say that. He might say that, but yeah, just him being able to get there and watch your game, but then officiate with you as well. It's really cool, and like you said, kind of a full circle moment. But again, you did talk about, what sort of things you did to get started into officiating. So yeah, tell us a little bit more about that process, and then include some of the people. You did talk about Nick Amon, who again, a state tournament official, really really great guy. Your dad being another person that influenced you. Tell us some more people. Again, how you got involved in this officiating. You talked about Watertown and Lake Area Tech, but then also the other people that influenced you in your officiating.
so going back to Watertown, so Steve Moore, he was the AD at Watertown Arrows at the time, and he's now at Sioux Falls Roosevelt. He really gave me a chance at Watertown there as well. He knew I was a young official, but he knew, hey, we need officials, and I'm going to put you with an experienced official, and you're going to learn your way and keep moving up. Um, I was a very eager, not only just as an official, but just as a human being. My work ethic, I'm just go, 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 especially when I was younger, the early years of college. So you caught me doing a junior high tournament in Sioux Valley on a Saturday morning, working 3, 4 games, and then next thing you know, there's a doubleheader in Elkton or White that afternoon. I'm going to be going there and I'm going to be doing the JV games because I did whatever it took to get that experience. Um, I also during the summertime would go down to the Pentagon, and whether it was the league nights during the week or if it was AAU tournaments, I made sure to be there every single time just to get those reps in, get the experience, because you see things there you'll most likely won't see in the regular season, which is okay, but it prepares me for those moments. So I was a very eager young official. Now that I'm older, and I have a family now, I don't do it as much, but I'm still putting in that time and I'm still telling newer officials, you don't have to be as eager as I was and ref 10 games on a weekend, but go and do those tournaments because that's where you're going to learn everything.
Yep. Yeah, and not only do you learn like how to officiate, yeah, you learn communication, you learn the other things that kind of make you a better official in the scheme of like, hey, how do I control coaches? Because sometimes those games at AAU, you know, they can be pretty crazy. But yeah, just seeing a whole bunch of the plays and seeing how they kind of pop up in front of you and being able to catalog those and keep going through them really helps in your officiating. So along with that, officiating, tell us a fun story that you had. Obviously, the one with your dad is a pretty fun story to talk about, but is there one that you have had um, in your time as an official that, and maybe we've already talked about it, maybe it was last year at the state tournament, but is there another fun story that you've had about your officiating experience?
Just like every other. official, there's some games where you remember you'll never forget it because of a crazy play that happened or just because of a buzzer beater. Um, but I have a couple that come to mind. I would say December of 22, first game of the season, ref Huron Mitchell girls at Huron with dad and um oh, what's his name? You'll be able to help me here. He's from Washington
Lee
Springs.
Johnson.
Yep. That was my first time ever meeting Lee Johnson. That was my first time ever reffing the Huron Tigers and Mitchell Colonels. But that was also a full circle moment of my mom graduated from Huron High School. So I was like, okay, well, this is cool. I haven't been here since state tournament, my freshman year of high school. I get to ref at my mom's alma mater, but that game was back and forth, all fun. First game of the season, we get a buzzer beater three, and we're running to the locker room because people are just storming the court. So it's just plays like that where that's the first game of the season, but they were playing like it meant their season was on the line. Like it's all or nothing right now.
Yeah.
Um, Another game that comes to mind is my first year of eligibility to do postseason region game at Tulare, Hitchcock Tulare, James Valley Christian. Two teams that they knew their season was on the line. No matter what they needed to do, they were going to do it. You're at an old retro gym. Fans are just all the way up to the wall. The gym is just echoing. It's loud. Everybody's into the game. And Hitchcock Tulare was ahead the whole game. Then all of a sudden, here comes James Valley Christian, and they win by 2 or 3. But it was just electric the whole time. Like my dad says it still to this day. There's a lot of, I mean, like everybody says, there's going to be games where you think, why am I doing this? But then there's going to be games, this is why I do this.
Yep.
And that was the game where I was like, this is exactly why I do this basketball officiating.
Yep. Yeah, those games that you can get in that have the stands that are filled, the crowd is loud, the gym is specifically made so it just echoes and reverberates the noise like crazy. Yeah, those are the fun games to be in. And even, I mean, the weird thing is even if the teams really aren't that great either, but I feel like in Class B specifically, those fans show up. They know that, if they win, they're going to keep going and they're going to go as far as they can. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like, you know, um, it's fun atmosphere to be in the Class B, and nothing to take away from Class A or Double A,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely is one of those things where I don't know, Class B just kind of brings it, and I mean you can probably feel that when you go to Huron. It's got that aesthetic of being that Class B girls basketball facility, um, and all the people travel there. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think just coming from a Class B school,
Yep.
it's just it's a small town feeling. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows, hey, there's a basketball game tonight. I'm gonna be there. Even if I have no relation to any of the players, I'm gonna be in that gym.
Yep, correct. I feel that a lot too. I mean, heck, 1 year after I graduated from Hanson, and the next year they made it to state, and we just went to the state tournament. I didn't have skin in the game besides being from Hanson, like, but I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go to state tournament just to enjoy that experience. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, uh, speaking of fun stories, we talked about a fun story officiating right there with Hitchcock JVC. Is there one that you have with a coach? That's whether that's a memorable one, hopefully it's good, or just a funny interaction that you had with a coach that was memorable as well.
Um, Trying to think. Uh, as you know, the JVC girls basketball coach, she's a great basketball coach. Very personable with her, and I think that goes back to when I was starting out with officiating and I was working whenever a son and James Valley Christian played a doubleheader. I was officiating the lower level because my brother was playing, so I'm going to be at the game regardless.
Hmm.
And you just get to know the coaches on a personal level there too. Then,
Hey everyone, just a quick break right here. If you like what you have been listening to, and you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and hit that subscribe button. If you're listening on any of the podcasting hosts, go ahead and click the download button and the like as well and leave a rating for me. Thank you, and back to the interview.
And we're back with Abbi Simpson here, and we were talking about some memorable interactions with a coach. And so, did you end up having one more memorable interaction with a coach?
I did. I was during a little break. I was thinking of some coaches from even just this past season, and some that come to mind is coaching or officiating coaches that I played basketball against in high school. So Bree Olson, she's now Bree Kleckis. She is the JV Madison coach, girls basketball coach. First year this last season for her, and I got to ref a couple games that she was coaching, and that was just again a flashback. Honestly, I played against Bree throughout high school. My husband now actually went to school with Bree, so we have those connections as well. But it's just so different, especially from a female perspective of not only there being female basketball coaches, but there being female officials and us being able to officiate with coaches that we played basketball with throughout our high school careers.
Yeah, it was interesting last year because I didn't know Bree was even back, and I coached her at DSU for the women's side. And
Okay.
so that was kind of an interesting experience too. And one time I came over and she's like, "You can't make that call." And I was like, "Was it right?" She's like, "Yeah, but you can't make that call." I was like,
Yep.
"Okay." I'm like, "That's fair. You can." She's like, "I just needed to yell at you, okay?" I was like,
Yeah.
"That's
Yeah.
that's okay."
One of her first, I think it was the first game of the season too, and she says to me, "They're building a house in a lane. That's way more than 3 seconds." And I looked at her and I was like, "That really, Bree?" Like it was just that of all things. And I work with her husband at the hospital, so we
Yeah.
talk about it there too. And he even laughed like that's what she said, and I was like, "Yep, we're building houses."
Yeah, yeah, it's funny. I mean, coaches are gonna, go for their team and try to get anything they can, and I probably would pull that card too if I was a coach, or I probably did actually when I was coaching. But
Yeah.
um, anyway, kind of a combo pack. Last question here for you. Well, second to last question. First of the two combo packs here is, what's a rule that you were glad was added while in the time you've been officiating? And then second half of that is, what's a rule that you do not like or wish was modified? Sorry, modified.
Let's see. So a rule that I think was a great addition, and I know some parents, coaches, players are still adjusting to it, is that free throw rule with protecting the shooter.
Hmm.
Um, Honestly, that rule kind of came into play because of when I was in high school. Uh, my dad and I actually still talk about it to this day when we have to explain to coaches and players like why we are doing this now. Uh, just the whole you shoot a free throw and you get hip checked when all you're doing is standing at the free throw line and shooting a free throw, and you're the most vulnerable person on the court right then.
Hmm.
Um, so that's a huge adjustment, I think, for players, coaches, and fans, just because they're doing what they're told. They're boxing out. Yeah, to an extent.
Hmm.
Because we know too that even if it was somebody shooting a three-pointer or even doing a little bunny and they get a hard box out like that, we're going to call that foul there. So really, there's no difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
And
and just
sorry, keep
trying to
going.
explain to people why we do that. Um, a rule that I like don't really care for. Um,
Or maybe wish it was
I would
tweaked or modified,
yeah. So this is one that and I think there's gonna be a change again this coming season when it comes to like the flopping.
Yep.
Like we're gonna do a technical right away, and nobody ever did that. Um, so I think we might be going kind of with the college rule of we're
Hmm.
gonna do a warning,
Yep.
and then that way they know, okay, next time it's serious, like it's gonna be technical. That way you gotta stop it. Um, so that will be a good adjustment there. They're kind of going with the college rules there, just like they did this past year with free throws
Hmm.
and with the placement of the ball inbounding. But
Yeah.
I thought those were some great additions. It helped with the flow of the game. I mean, there were some games where I was like, oh, I miss when we used to do it this way, but I thought it's also going to help these students transition to that college game.
Yeah, for sure. Do you see the flopping one being a warning? Do you think that's going to be you think it's going to be better for the game? Is that correct?
I think so, and I think more so towards the boys side of play because you don't
Sure.
really see girls flopping all that much.
Sure.
Um, but it'll be interesting how it factors in to the game and just everything.
Yeah, I pulled up the other some of the other newer rules this year. There's one for the 20-second to remedy blood. What's your thoughts on that one? Because that's a college rule also being brought down. What's your thoughts on that?
Um, I kind of go back to where when I was playing in school, like if I had a teammate that was suddenly on the floor, and I look at it as, okay, are you on the floor because you cannot get up because you can't put a weight on your ankle, or are you on the floor because you got poked in the eye, but you for some reason feel that you can't get up? Like I'm one of those people that, hey, if we can keep this game going, let's get moving. If
Sure.
you got blood, take care of it. You know you have blood. Go do what you need to do, then you can get back in the game. Let's just get it rolling.
Yeah.
That goes back to a game we were refing. I think it might have been a doubleheader at Darb St. Mary's this year, and two people had blood on them, but as in jerseys, but nobody like had blood on their skin that we could find.
Sure.
And it was just like, it doesn't matter whose blood it is or anything. Get off the court, get to your locker room, or coach call a timeout, like figure it out, clean the jersey, and then let's get rolling.
Sure.
Uh, it's just things like that. And I'm just very much a person like, all right, let's go. Let's go.
Yep, yep. Let's get it rolling. Let's keep the game moving. Yeah, I can see where the issue would be is like you got towards the end of the game and you're like, I can't take this player's a stud. I can't take him
Right.
off the floor. Like I get that. The other ones, it's
No.
like just kind of take a seat for a second and you're gonna get back in. Whether or yeah, like literally the coach could call timeout at any point to get you back in,
Mhm.
or yeah, the ball's gonna more than likely gonna go out of bounds or someone's gonna do something stupid and there's gonna be a turnover.
Right, right. Or yeah, if you know it's a stud, so you know they have to get out. Put somebody at the end of the bench in. If you have fouls to give, quickly have them foul right when they pass it in.
Yep.
Then there you go. You buy the time there.
Correct. Yep. A lot of things that could remedy that besides necessarily
Mhm.
this, but we'll see. It might not be as bad as we maybe anticipate, but I know the coaches will probably appreciate that one, maybe more so than the officials, but we
Right,
will we
right.
will see how that plays out. So kind of the final question I have for you is, you being not a new official, but relatively new to the officiating world. Same with me. I'm not anywhere far along in this world. What are some what is some advice that you can give to newer officials, even if that newer official is, 1920, just getting like you kind of did the route of JV varsity stuff in Watertown, or if that
Mhm.
person's 45, like give some helpful constructive advice for that newer official that's trying to work into the game and what they can do to get better.
Um, so yeah, first off, do the junior high JV games. And when you do those JV games, it's most likely going to be a double header. So then you're most likely going to have the varsity crew come in. Stick around, get to know those officials, get some names, learn where they're from, and build those connections that way. Another way to build the connections, region meetings. Get out there, tell them, hey, can I take along? Even if I'm not officiating the game, can I just go and watch? I've done that a couple of times. Even now at the college level, I'll just go to the game, not watching the game, but watching the officials and just seeing like, oh, this is what they did, and just getting those mentors, that way I can go to them and say, okay, I was watching this game, I saw this official. Why did they do this instead of this? Or can you explain this rule to me when it comes to this play? And so on and so forth. I do that now to where if I have a question, obviously I'll text my dad, but there's other officials like I'll text you every once in a while. You got Nick Hunter. We'll talk every once in a while about basketball plays that come up, and you're just like, what is happening here?
Yep.
um, but yeah, just building that connection with the officials, especially newer official, and what so being in Madison. I'll help out coach, not coach anymore, but I'll help out Mike Ricky every once in a while with some JV games too if my schedule lets me.
Yeah.
And he will always put me with a newer official. And to me, I'm like, okay, I'm helping you because this is you. I was where you are right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to take everything if you don't want to, but here's just some helpful hints here. Let's work together. Let's figure it out. And then, being that I am a varsity official and I most likely know the varsity crew coming in, I'll make sure to tell them who you are, where you're from, what level you're at right now, and so on and so forth. That way, when they hear you get your name again down the road, they're going to say, oh, yeah, I remember them. They were at Madison officiating, and I would like to take them with me for my next game or whatever.
Yeah. For sure. And I think the good thing is, and I'm going to pitch this. I don't know how many people know about this, but for officials out there that are new, we've got a mentorship program, and officials can take a newer, younger official. If you're willing to ride however long you need to, go to a game. I think you can do the first game or the first half, or I can't remember exactly what it is. You get paid not super well, but you get paid enough to get the experience, and the experience is worth more than the actual pay that you receive. So, yeah, I just want to pitch that as well. Like, getting advice from Abby is great. And so if you want to ride along with her sometime and pick her brain, because the car rides are also a great time to do that as well, not only at the games. So just want to pitch the mentor thing. Do you have anything else you want to say there?
Um, I think it's probably better at the smaller schools, but let's say the referee who has the contract for that game can contact AD and say, hey, we have a new official. We're reffing a JV and varsity game today. Can they ref the first or second half of the JV game just to
Mhm.
get those reps in?
Yep.
And of course, it will probably have to be the AD will have to talk to the coaches and everything. But that's another way to get in and get those reps. And then you, as a crew, can talk about it between games. You can take what you did in the JV game and watch the varsity game as you're there and kind of see, okay, I did this in the JV game, but they're doing this in the varsity game. So this is what I need to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, car rides home, there's always something being talked about with the officiating of the game.
Yeah, for sure. Just one last follow up from me. I just remember one time I went to Woolsey. So, I mean, for me, driving 2 hours to go to a game, that's another thing. Be willing to just travel. Like, that's just the reality as a newer official. But along with that, I did two JV games, and then I just told the varsity officials, hey, if you want a third, I'm not going to get paid. I will run up and down the court. I will make calls. If you thought I did a good job in the JV game, I'll stick around and do it. They said, sure. So I actually did a 3-man crew back when they were just paying two. Didn't get paid for those varsity 2 games. I just wanted to get experience. And so,
Right.
yeah, the experience that I gained from those officials as well. I don't even remember their names, unfortunately. They're from the Aberdeen area. So shout out to that region. But yeah, any last comments this evening, Abby?
Just thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. I appreciate our friendship, camaraderie we've had over the years, and just sending plays and other things back and forth. It's been awesome. So thanks again for joining me on the podcast. This has been the Irenic Ref podcast with Abbi Simpson. I am Andrew Gross, and we will see you next time.